Hey guys, my name is Max Armstrong and I have decided to start a YouTube channel documenting my progress in chess. I currently have a Swiss Chess Federation ELO of 1,359 and a Lichess classical rating of 1,910 after one game. This is the game I will be analyzing with you today. Just a quick disclaimer, I played extremely poorly this game, and you probably won't get much information out of the analysis, although it is good to see where I missed tactical opportunities, or I allowed my opponent to play tactical moves that I had not defended properly against. I am playing as black with 1,500 points against Alberta Gung with 1,772 points. This game was played on Lichess. It is a classical game with a time setting of 30 minutes plus a 20-second increment. The game starts with my opponent playing f4, the bird opening. Now, I don't know this opening, I've never studied it. It seems bad to me because it weakens the king side, so my initial plan was to try and attack the king on this weak f2 square, which typically you don't want to expose this early in the game. I just continued with d5, it seemed natural, grab the center and make space to develop my light squared bishop. My opponent continued with e3. It looks like they're trying to control these dark squares in the center, so to contest, I play knight to f6, trying to take control of the white squares. My opponent played b3, and it is clear that they want to fianchetto their bishop, which would give them even more power over these central squares and this very strong diagonal. I keep going with my plan and grab the white squares on this slightly weaker diagonal, but most importantly in the center here. My opponent plays knight to f3. It's a simple move, developing a minor piece. I continue with knight to c6, which is an inaccuracy according to the engine. h6 would have been better, preventing the knight from coming into this g5 square, which we see later in the game does provide some difficulties for black. Anyways, I played knight to c6, developing my knight. My opponent played bishop to b5, and I don't want to let them capture here because that would give me double pawns on the c-file, and my plan is to castle queenside and then pawn storm on the king side to attack my king because of this weakness they created with their initial move. So I defend with queen to d6. Now this is a big mistake because it allows white to simply develop their bishop to a3 with tempo. I have to move my queen, and the best move is to go to e6, which is what I did. After this, white castles, and then I make a tactical blunder. I castle queenside. Though this was my plan, can you spot the tactic that white has, which will win them a pawn and a rook for a minor piece? That's right, they could play knight to g5, attacking the queen. The queen has to run away, and then knight takes f7 with a double attack on the rooks, and we are losing a rook. It is inevitable. Luckily, my opponent didn't see this move, and they played bishop to b2. I still didn't see the move, and I blundered it again, giving them another opportunity to play this move, attacking the queen and this square as a double attack. They, however, still didn't see it, and took my knight, which gave me the opportunity to escape that tactic by taking back with the queen. They bring their knight to the center, which is a smart play. I retreat with my queen. They take my bishop, I take the knight, and they develop their queen to e2. Right now, if we look at the board, there is an obvious imbalance. The opposite side castles, which usually means you have to push the pawns on the enemy king's side and try and attack them before they can attack you. So I continued with g5. They pushed with c4. I ignored, played rook to g5 to support my pawn. They played c5. Now, of course, the threat here is c6, because I can't take it. I would lose this pawn, and my king's safety would be gone, and I can't push past, because then the queen could take this pawn with check, and my king's safety would be not. However, I spotted that after c6, I could play rook to d6. If they take, I'm protecting this pawn with my rook, and I could either take with the king or scoot under the pawn and use it as a defensive property instead. They do play c6, I play rook to d6, they take, and I opt for this move. This is a blunder. King takes b7 was better. According to the engine, now white has a 3.3 point advantage over me. I believe this is a blunder because it weakens my king's safety, and these two squares are prime targets for the white pieces. After they push their other pawn, they could take out this defender, and once the queen gets on the A file, or the rook on the A file, this will be a big problem for the black king. They push their bishop up, bishop e5, trying to remove the defender of my rook on their pawn. I go to c6, controlling the half-open c file so that white cannot place their rook on it and further their attack. They just calmly push their pawn, b4. I play knight to e4, trying to attack the enemy king as fast as I can, because I can tell that I am in big trouble. They keep pushing b5. I take, they take, and now my king is surrounded by enemy pieces, and I have hardly any defenders. I retreat with the queen to protect my rook. They advance their knight, knight to c3. I take the pawn on d2. They take my pawn on d5, and now this square is attacked. I have threats here and here. If the queen went anywhere along the A file, they would be threatening checkmate. I am in deep trouble here. As a last-ditch attempt to catch my opponent off guard, I play knight to f3. The idea being, after pawn takes with check, the king has to escape to h1. Otherwise, I have opportunities for counterattack if they go to f2, which seems like the natural move. Hoping my opponent doesn't see the proper move, we play it through, and they blunder. The game is blundered for white. King to f2, allowing for a discovered attack on their queen. The king retreats. This is now checkmate in 5. Queen takes, bishop takes, rook takes, and the knight took, allowing for checkmate in 1. The conclusion that I took from this game is that first of all, you should never resign, because you lose 100% of the games that you don't play through. And secondly, that this reminds me of a quote that I heard when I was learning chess, that the winner of the game is the player who makes the next to last mistake. In this case, I made a lot of mistakes and I played really atrociously. However, my opponent made the last one, which allowed me to steal the win from under their nose. Thank you very much for watching, and I apologize if there are any kinks in the video. This is my first time ever editing and uploading something to YouTube, Next time I will try a deeper analysis for you. Unfortunately, this game was not very informative in how much you could learn from it. It was really just a lucky blunder on my part.